I got pretty much all the results that we were looking for in that time. Now, 12 weeks later, I am in some of the best shape of my life.
You've been like one of the most diligent guys I've ever seen.
This was different because not only did I lose weight, but I put on muscle and I was going up in strength in almost all of my lifts. I've had two coaches before, not nearly anything like this. You guys care more than just bringing in guys and trying to retain them so you can put money in your pockets. You actually care to see results. The accountability is huge. I really wanted to see what would happen if I truly locked in on it and made it that important, to see how much better I would feel and look. My movement feels good, my hips feel good. Energy wise, I am just able to get through my days way better because of how structured my eating has been. Tangibles fitness wise, we got to 225 bench and was squatting, good 275 squat there after not squatting for over a
Let's
year,
freaking
maybe
go.
2 years.
Josh, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. We've come to
Yeah,
the
me too.
the end of the 12-week diet, which got a little dicey at the end. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it went well. I mean, I couldn't complain about it at all, honestly. Like, I got pretty much all the results that we were looking for in that time. So,
Let's go, bro. Yeah.
I mean,
But before we get into all that, I mean, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
yeah,
Just kind of personality and we'll get into the fitness journey from there.
yeah. Yeah, like you said, my name is Josh. I'm a student out in Clemson, South Carolina. I'm in my third year studying finance and real estate. And I when I go home in the summers where I live in Michigan, I'm also a part-time, I guess, business owner. But because I really only get those 3 months to work before I head back to school. I run a landscape construction business, Natura Design and Build on Instagram if you want to check it out. But
Let's go. Plug the business,
shameless
baby. Come
plug.
on now. No, no
Yeah.
shame. There's no shame here.
So, but yeah, so I grind out in those 3 months and then I head back to school for the year. So I got one more year after this. Yeah, I reached out to Aiden at the start of this spring semester, like first week of January, because I had been doing a lot in my life, but one of the things that I hadn't really taken control of was definitely my health and fitness. And I had known of Aiden through some people that I had worked with before
Shout
and
out to Caleb.
through social media. And yeah, got down with what he was posting and started to reach out. And now 12 weeks later, I'm in some of the best shape of my life. So
Let's go,
pretty
bro.
pretty good outcome. Yeah,
No,
good
no, look,
ROI.
Josh is a freaking stud, and he won't admit it. But dude crushes it in the summer with landscape. Really diligent with school, and especially, I mean, I can speak to that for sure, just because past 12 weeks, bro, you've been like one of the most diligent guys I've ever seen. Like always texting us, just always on the ball. So shout out to Josh.
I
But yeah,
appreciate that.
you talked about, in some of the best shape of your life right now. Um, what was the impetus to kind of make a change?
Um, Kind of like I had said, like, I operated through work throughout the summer and I started trying to get back into fitness and then I got through the summer and I headed back to school and then I just kind of lost that I got out of schedule, got out of routine and then I lost that part. And what was different about this time that I felt I really wanted to find a way that it, it could stick to my lifestyle and
Mm,
even through, life changes or even just temporary changes like going back home for the summer, I could still find ways to get in the gym, eat right, So I felt I've been in the gym for some time, since high school, but I never really stayed with it for longer than probably 4 or 5 months at a time. And then I would go off of it for a good couple months and
right.
lose a lot of that progress. And so that was just kind of kept happening. And I just wanted to figure out a way that I could really stick with it and make it an integral part of my life and not just something that I kind of do or pick up when I have the time for.
Right.
I wanted to be able to make time for it consistently and understand the I really wanted to see what would happen if I truly locked in on it and made it that important to see how much better I would feel and look and all the good benefits that come with it. So
Right. Yeah, you had periods in your life where it's like, oh, I go to the gym because I'm a high achiever. This is just like naturally what I do. But it always kind of felt like going through the motions in a way, like, oh, I have time
yeah,
now, time to work out. Is Is that the kind
Yeah.
of the idea you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely just going through the motions. And I never really had a good plan when I was in the gym either. It
Okay.
was, I would do what I had seen on social media. Um, for a second, I kind of had some things going. Like I was trying to gain weight at one point, and I was consistently doing like a pound a week and stuff like that. But in time, it just once again all fizzled out, and then I never cut properly. So then I was just fat. But
Bulking up with no gym is just called getting fat,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, bulking up, but to never cut. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people get stuck there. And then they get stuck there for like 30 years and then they look back and they're like, holy crap, I'm just fat. No,
yeah,
dude, for sure.
yeah,
Kind of seems like the theme too is like, and I know we talked about this, but I'm just kind of reiterating, like, you know, not having a plan kind of stinks because it's like, well, I know I want to make a change, but like, where do I go from here? Do I bulk? Do I cut? Do I lift this way? Do I lift that way? Was that kind of something that was also going through your head at the time?
yeah. I'm definitely more of a plan-oriented person,
For sure.
and I like seeing all the inputs and how they can affect the output. So when you have something as dialed in as that, and when I'm tracking my food every day and sending it to you guys and having you review that, and then also, having the planned workouts where I can see my progress throughout
Mm,
the prior weeks with the same lifts, like that allows me to really take control of the inputs.
right.
And then I know, if I can tweak this here and there, I know exactly what my macros are. I know what lifts I like and I don't like, and that are actually I'm seeing good growth with. And that in turn keeps me more on point because now it kind of feels like like you've described me before, like just very X's and O's. Like I can cross this off the list. I can, do all these things and I'll get to the output eventually. So
100%. I think we're the same in that way, like input based mindset. I love that.
yeah.
Because it's like, dude, yeah,
Yeah.
if we have a plan in place, there's no reason it wouldn't make sense to not get here as long as
Yeah.
everything's dialed in. So no, dude, I
Yeah.
I, I love that. The we didn't mention the trip to Mexico. I mean, I'm sure that helped as well, having that coming up,
Yeah.
wanting to make a change.
Yeah. Had a little bit of motivation for going on spring break somewhere tropical. So that was nice. I definitely I have a girlfriend that is very in tune with her fitness and
Let's
health, and
go.
she looks pretty dang good. So I didn't want to be, the fluffy boyfriend next to her. So
Shout out
and
to
in turn
Mila.
that's also been great for our relationship. So what was that?
I said shout out to Mila. Mila, right?
Yeah, Mela,
Mila.
yeah,
Mela, Mela,
yeah,
my fault, my fault.
yeah. She's jacked. She's been on her fitness grind for many, many years. And so it's helped our relationship for sure, and it kept me accountable. But yeah, then it was just nice being
I love that,
at
bro.
Mexico, walking around the resort and whatnot, and just feeling very comfortable in my body, and also just knowing that like health wise, I was also just healthy walking around.
Yeah,
So
you just feel good. You mentioned something I want to come back to about the relationship, and then I want to talk about that Mexico trip a little bit more. But
mm.
real quick, because I don't think we touched on it, let's go over like just tangible for some other X's and O's type guys watching. What was some of the tangible progress that you saw?
Well, one of the big things was definitely just like overall movement. I felt pretty stiff coming into us talking just because like a summer of, doing manual labor and then not really doing anything after that.
Right. And you had a back injury as
Felt
well.
stiff. Yeah, yeah. I had a low back injury in high school, which I've never really gotten like totally fixed. So that was something that I kind of wanted to see how I could work out. And yeah, I feel much more physically able. I have, my movement feels good, my hips feel good. My back is still getting better, but
Right.
it's again like you've said before, like we're now testing the capabilities of it more than just trying to compensate for it always being very injury prone. Um, I'm finding myself still being able to do things that I didn't think I'd be able to,
Right.
a couple months back. So that's been pretty different. Definitely energy wise, like I am just able to get through my days like way better because of how structured my eating has been, and fully including, a good amount of fruits and vegetables in the diet and just staying on top of, healthy whole foods as well. Like energy has been good. Sleep's always been a problem for me, and it hasn't totally been resolved through this, but I will say the quality of the sleep that I'm getting is a lot better. And even though if I don't get a lot of sleep, when I do finally, hit the pillow, it's good sleep. So even if I'm waking up earlier and not getting as much as I want, I still am able to get through my day like pretty energized,
Right.
which has been solid. And then I guess tangibles fitness wise, like yeah, we got to 225 bench,
Yes, sir.
and was squatting, got to a good 275 squat there after not squatting for over a
Let's
year,
freaking
maybe
go.
2 years. So
Yeah.
that was good. But my core feels a whole lot stronger. I can do some core exercises that I'd be flopping around like a fish trying to do a couple months ago. So um yeah, I mean, I just feel mentally, a lot more clarity in a lot of things as well.
Right.
And it did a lot for that, just being able to like trust the process, like really see something through fruition, even if, the week by week doesn't look as different. I can look back at, 12, 13 weeks ago and I'm like, wow, like I didn't even like how did I even look like that to begin?
Right.
But how is that even like it's just crazy.
Yeah,
So
because we also lost 11 pounds in the process. Right. And it
yeah.
wasn't just
Mhm.
like, maybe you can speak to that a bit more, you've gotten lean before, right? You've lost weight like on the
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah. Yeah. My senior year of high school, I was in that like bulk phase where I was gaining weight for 3, 4 months. I probably put on like 15, 16 pounds. Um, and I was pretty strong. I was in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. And then in March, I just kind of had a life event happen that I just like I wasn't eating well and I also wasn't lifting again. And within like a 2 month span, I lost like 25 pounds. And at
Yeah.
that point, I was like pretty shredded, but not like I didn't have much muscle mass because
Right.
I hadn't been lifting to lose that weight or, tracking my protein or anything like that. So this was different because not only did I lose weight, but I put on muscle and I was going up in strength in almost all of my lifts until like those last couple of weeks where we were a little bit lower on
Right.
calories. So this was the first time I've ever like cut, or cut down on weight in such a way where I I wasn't worse off by the end of it. Um,
100%.
so that was different, definitely.
And I want to ask, like, yeah, I love that. Like losing that dead weight. We talk about that a lot. You got leaner. But I think when we came into this, I remember having this conversation, like our goal was to recomp. It wasn't necessarily just put on a bunch of weight. It wasn't necessarily lose a bunch of weight. It was like, hey, we just need to put on muscle, get stronger, move better, get
Yeah,
and lower our body fat percentage.
yeah,
You know, is that like a new, did you know that? Or is that like a new, and I'm candidly, I don't know. Like, did you know that? Or was that a new insight you had? Like learning,
recomping.
yeah, like learning how to lose body fat and putting on muscle at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I had known what recomping is, and in a lot of ways, I think people mainly just kind of describe that as like a main gain,
Right.
in a way.
Good word.
But I don't necessarily, I just didn't ever really do it right, obviously, and I also didn't know the best way to do it. So, again, with like the plan, just having 12 weeks laid out. Like, here's exactly what we're gonna do. Here's what you need to stick to. And those 12 weeks flew by too. Like it was crazy.
Hmm.
Just being on top of stuff like that all the time, like it just really makes the days just go
So
by really
fast.
quickly. Yeah. So I felt like I was, week by week, I was able to see substantial enough changes, because it was just going by quickly. But yeah, I mean, the concept of recomping, like it made sense to me. I was just like, well, how does this get done properly?
Right.
And, through just eating super high protein and lifting as much as we can and continuing to train through failure and whatever. I mean,
You're
it all
telling me
gets there in the end.
it's not just eating 4,000 calories a day to bulk and put on muscle. That's not what it is, bro.
No, no, yeah. And then, just putting on an additional 10% of body fat
Right.
and then having to cut down like 50 pounds in order to get to where you would have been if you just cut down 15 and lifted in
100%.
the process. So,
No,
yeah.
dude, I love that. I think a lot of guys fall into that. They kind of get they don't have much muscle, but they have really decently high body fat, and they're like, where do I go from here? I heard I need to
Yeah.
bulk to put on muscle. It's like, no, dude, just change what you're doing because it's not working, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
I think the concept of like newbie gains is totally real,
Oh,
obviously. Like,
100%.
and those first couple months or even, first couple years even of you lifting, like it doesn't really matter if you are in a huge calorie surplus or if you're in a calorie deficit. Like you will still put on muscle, albeit maybe a little bit slower than if you were in a surplus, but you're still gonna be putting on muscles because of the fact that your body is going through a lot of changes. Like,
Hmm.
you don't cap out your physique after 3 months of lifting. Like,
No.
that's very clear to me now, even through these 3 months. Like, there's a ton more to do and a long way to go, and there shouldn't ever really be a stop on it because of the fact that you feel a whole lot better when you're active and eating well. So
Yeah, dude, I love that you said that. There is no end to it, which is might sound intimidating, but it's not really because it's like 12 weeks ago you were struggling to even get in the gym. Now you're in the gym and you're like putting protein first and you have all the good principles in place to where you could probably teach other people how to do it. And it's like
mhm.
at the beginning of this, even our talk now, you're like, man, I'm a lot further along than I was 12 weeks ago. And I didn't realize how bad it was. And even now at this point, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much work to do. It's kind of like business. It's like you
Yeah,
hit that next level and it's like, crap, I know nothing. And then you get
yeah,
really good. And then you're just at the next level. And it's like, oh, I know nothing
yeah,
again. I got to keep going. So, no, dude, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. I can definitely speak to that for sure. So
I wanted to ask you, bro, because kind of going back to Mexico and that trip and talking about your relationship. You said you saw that it improved. And I know you're not married, you're dating, but I mean,
mm,
was there anything specific that you noticed, or was it kind of just like a fun time to work out with your girlfriend?
definitely that. And then yeah, I mean, I just think like being able to do something and surround your life with something like fitness with your significant other
Right.
is just like great for both people. Like holds each other accountable, and you're also comfortable enough with it where it's like, if you might be having a bad day or you're not looking at yourself, how you should be like image wise or something like that, then you also have that like support as well.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, she's dialed, so then we can make meals together that are good for
Hmm.
both of us, and
Yeah.
alter them. Or if I need some more calories, and like I'm getting more of the portion, and so it's like a little cost effective too, because now we're
Pooling resources.
yeah, exactly.
That's
Um,
funny.
so
That's
that I definitely felt like it was just good, and I think also, at least for a man, like it's attractive when your boyfriend is, in the gym eating well, staying on top of this thing. Like your girlfriend's gonna like you a whole lot more when you're not even even if it takes you a whole lot longer to like look maybe the way that
right.
you'd like to. Just that simple fact of like I have,
Putting
a
in effort.
significant other that is putting in the effort, while also putting in the effort in our relationship, like that goes a long way for them. So
100%. Controversial take, Josh. You're saying dad bods are out, bro. You're gonna get the fatties crying. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, well, dad bods are out for when you're not a dad. Let's
Well, even if you are a
what
dad, bro, take care of yourself. What are you doing? You
yeah,
know?
well that too, but like when we're young, abled, 20-year-old something men, or even early 30s and whatnot, like
Right.
you should be in prime physical health, until you really have the old like aging life factors that are
Yeah.
um playing into it. So,
And even
but
then, you
still,
chalk
I
it
mean,
up to like 10% of your gains that you could have made. And it's like, I'm just gonna do the
yeah,
best I can. Like put in the effort. I like that you
yeah,
said that. Put in the effort,
yeah,
bro. Just take action. And
yeah.
and it's like, would you agree, like, bro, it's easier just to take control of it now and just like get jacked and make the gains because you get to keep them pretty much forever as long as you're diligent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's plenty of people that look back on their health and their fitness and they wonder if they made changes when they were younger, if, they would impact them now. Like the people that can't walk because their knees are so bad or their back's so bad
100%.
and their hips are so stiff, and that's just physical factors, take into account diseases and cancer and
Chronic
things that
factors.
can totally be avoided through proper health and fitness and eating well. Like,
Right.
not everything is always clear cut like that, but um, and there's plenty of scientific studies even just to back the fact that, eating good diet and moving is going to be the best medicine you can give to yourself. So
100%. And I'm glad you said that. And I think it's something for people that are listening to this, right? If you're young, or even if you're 30, I think 30 is young, 40 is even young. If you want
Yeah.
to put on muscle and get jacked because you're insecure about the way you look and you want to make that change, that's cool too. And then, like you said, it kind of opens that gateway. Hey, I did this transformation because I was insecure about the way I looked. I wanted to make a change. I knew I could do better than this, and I want to take my shirt off. I want to be that guy for my partner. But it opens the
Yeah.
door to, yeah, because people aren't going to be scared of 50 years from now when they have medications, they can't walk, they're in a wheel, whatever it may be. 80% of people die from diseases that are avoidable. The other 20% is things that are completely unavoidable in America, at
Hmm.
least. And that's not as scary or not as painful initially as, I'm insecure about the way I look. And so that's a good way to get in the door. That's how I got into fitness. So I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because like long
Yeah.
term, this changes everything for you and your health and even your family members and your significant other.
Right. Yeah, I had seen a perspective from someone online where it's like, you know, this is like your hygiene. Going to the gym is just as important as brushing your teeth and taking a shower in terms of
Thousand
what it does
percent.
for your health. And my dad has had terrible chronic back pain his entire life. He's gotten multiple surgeries, and that in a way, I could chalk up my own back injury to, well, it's just genetic and it's something that um, I'm just gonna have to deal with. But in a lot of ways, it's lifestyle changes that I can make as a 20-year-old, so I don't have a back like my father's at 45. He's
100%.
never lifted and stretched or been mobile in a way that probably could have very positively impacted him and not led to as much pain as he was in. And if that means anything for my kids to where they see me not living that type of lifestyle, then that will go super far for them as well because they're going to be on a much better track to stay mobile and fit in the long run. Um, and yeah, I just think now, like I said, I've always known that the gym is important and that I need to get in there. And there are bouts of consistency that I've had since I
Right.
first stepped in my sophomore year of high school, but it wasn't. I didn't understand the importance of it, like how truly important it is and what it can do, not just for you physically, but mentally, even spiritually,
100%.
everything.
Good
It is
word.
a pillar and it should stay as a pillar for everyone.
Yeah. And I want to ask you this, there's probably people watching that are, dude, they can relate to your story 100%. I think most guys that work out 80% don't work out like we work out or like you work out, where they have a meal plan, they're following a program. They just kind of go to the gym. They do it when they want to. I guess, what were some of the things that you struggled with specifically that caused that? Or what would you tell those guys?
I would say that it is better to have direction in a lot of it, even
Mm,
if you're not working with a coach one-on-one, still just noting down everything that you're doing, especially if you're starting off
right.
until, you might have some more comfortability, down the road. A couple years in, you might not need to track as much because you just understand portion control and stuff like that, sure.
Mhm.
But when you're getting into it and you don't really know what you're doing, having that direction is super important. Um, because it just gives you, like I said, with the inputs, like knowing what all these inputs are, understanding, okay, like this is the amount of calories I need to have each day. That's an input. This is the amount of protein I need to have each day. Like that's an input. Being able to see the differences in
Right.
those, if you were to change them ever so slightly, you'll be able to see that. And like that's incredibly important for building a routine around it as well. Like,
Right.
understanding I need to eat this many meals in a day that have this amount of protein in order to hit my goal. Okay, how am I going to build my day around those meals? How am I going to, you know, get in the gym around my schedule and stuff like that? And being able to say, okay, if I need to change these things around, I'm still going to get this output. Like that's a good thing. So yeah, I think just having and then same thing with accountability with it as well. Like if you're struggling at first to stay accountable because it's just you, on your sideline, that will also make it difficult. Um, so maybe getting a coach to have someone that is checking in with you daily and making sure that you are hitting those inputs is also pretty important. Um, but to each their own with when it comes with accountability. A lot of guys get in the gym and they hold themselves to it because that's all they have.
Right.
So, um, but there's always more seemingly that you can do to really enhance the experience and just make it better for you and your lifestyle. So,
Is that one of the biggest differences you noticed with this program itself, like the accountability, or was it more so the knowledge?
um, the knowledge, I felt like some of it I had, but I didn't know how to apply correctly.
Okay.
So
What
that,
specifically?
um, like following, like I never knew how to cut because I didn't know at what pace I should go. How
Okay.
many calories should I be cutting? I didn't know, and I didn't know. All right, am I supposed to be, altering the amount of protein that I'm, which, each person that might be different, but we stayed at a baseline of 200 grams of protein, and then let's move the rest of our macros around that,
Right.
baseline. And I think that made it easy for me because now, all right, I don't need to worry about altering my protein intake each day. Like I'm just going to eat these five things every single day, and
Yeah,
I know I'm going to hit
simple.
it. Yeah. So, um, but definitely more so was the accountability. I mean, that, and from what I've been told, like not everyone in the program might be sticking with the accountability factors as much as I have and some of it, but I
No
I
shade,
wanted
just
to,
honest truth. I
no
mean, Josh
shade, just
Josh
yeah,
checks in
I
every single freaking day.
yeah, yeah.
I know everything he's ate for the last 90 days. I can go pull it up. I can look up the date and go find it, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, for the first like 3, 4 weeks, I pretty much sent every single meal in, and then
Right.
I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to take a picture of my food every single day. So now here's at least my
You
daily
graduated.
intake of calories and everything. And if I make a good meal that I feel like the guys would like to see themselves, then I'll make sure to put it in there.
Aiden,
But
Sam, check this out, bro. This is gas. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
70 grams of protein, 600 calories, bro. Like you got to wrap
I'm
it.
getting hungry. I'm like pulling up Discord, like, what's Josh eating today? I need to know what I'm cooking up. No, that's lit.
But yeah, I mean, you got Sammy checking in, and that's pretty much all he does. He gives good input on things when I say things, but for the most part, I know at around 9 o'clock every day, I'm gonna get a text from Sammy. Hey, did we hit our protein?
Right.
Do our workout? Adhere to calories, and he keeps track of that every single day as well. I think he still has his little adherence graphs with
Right.
everything, and like, um, so that's huge. I mean, because like yeah, I mean I could just sit here and like lie to you guys and be like yep, I checked all the boxes off, but then it's like why would I do that, especially if I'm paying you guys to help me out. Like I'm
Right.
gonna make sure that you like being honest in that and honest with myself, like okay, I didn't hit these marks, they should know that. Like that's a good thing because then we can work around, okay, well why didn't we hit these marks, why what went different in this day, what can we change going forward. So again, altering inputs, like I have complete control over all of that. And then again, we do our weekly calls where we get to just, talk about everything that's been going on and seeing what we can refine or improve
Right.
upon and or what maybe needs to, get cut back a little bit. And that transparency and clarity is, pretty huge. So
I love that.
yeah, I mean, if I ever needed you, I can always add you in the Discord and you'd respond to me pretty quickly and we'd be pretty good. So the accountability is huge. And obviously you can take it as in depth as I did, or maybe not so much, but as long as you have
Everyone
other
should.
people again,
Everyone
yeah.
needs to take it as in depth as you did. Because that
As
12
long as
weeks is going to
again that
pass either
that you
way.
have people
The
on
time's
your
going to,
sideline, like I was saying, like it's important. You need to know that you have some support with it, especially if you don't know everything, like I didn't. So
right. No, that's a good word. And I love that. The accountability is huge and like right plan in place, execution, and accountability to the plan. That's all it takes, and you win. There's no
yeah.
questioning on whether or not this is going to work. It's just like, okay, how do we make this work? Um,
Mhm.
there's probably some guy watching, and he's like, okay, Josh, you're 20 years old, you're a college student, you have all the time in the world. Of course you can make this progress. Of course you can stick to the plan as diligently, blah, 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 blah. And you just pretend he said that to your face and you're talking to him in person. What would you say to that?
And he's saying like, someone like me who has a lot more on their
Right.
plate, like, yeah, yeah. I would say that,
I disagree with that because I know
yeah,
you're a busy guy, first of all. But
yeah, yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I would say I would disagree because of the fact that, like I said, like one, if you wanna prioritize health and fitness in the way that I am describing here, where it is a pillar in your life and it's something that will always be there and everything else has to work around it because all you have is, one body and you gotta take care of it, then this all becomes a lot easier mentally, where it's like I am gonna do this no matter what.
Right.
But in terms of time consumption, Aiden's program in specific, I never spent longer than maybe an hour 15 in the gym, and that's on like a slower day. On
Mhm.
average, I was spending 45 minutes to an hour in the gym every day, and that wasn't an issue. Um, and I would make time in my schedule easily for that. Like, I'm a student, so I would just throw it between classes or right after class some days and stuff like that. And I pretty rarely miss the beat, at least with the gym. Eating, I think, is something that a lot of guys think is pretty daunting, especially if you're trying to gain weight. Then, you look at the calculator and you're like, oh my gosh, like I need 2,500 calories, 3,000 calories in today. Like that's a lot of eating,
Josh is like, man,
and
I
it
wish
is.
I had 3,000 calories today.
It's definitely, the meals can be pretty time consuming, but that's not what I ended up doing was simplifying things. I simplified my meals and I figured out which ones are quick and they're easy and they're going to hit my marks. And I stuck to those meals every single day and it made it very simple. I knew all my meals, they take me 10 minutes to make, 10 minutes to eat. So I'm giving an hour of my day to eating. That's pretty normal, I think, for most people, even if,
Right.
and, people that might think otherwise, like, if you go out to eat and you go sit down, you're going to be waiting there for 20 minutes before you get your food
Ah,
and you're going
that's
to
a good
spend 10
word.
minutes eating. Like,
Yeah.
you're still going to be waiting regardless. It's just, now you're not cooking the food, so you don't feel that
You're
it's a
scrolling
manual.
Instagram while you're waiting for
Yeah,
your
exactly.
food.
You're
Yeah.
doing more leisure in it. So it's like, but to some, you're still going to be eating in your day. And if you can't cook every single meal because you're working, okay, then you can meal prep. I had so for the most part, I was able to cook all of my meals every single time, and I made them quick and easy, so I could do that because I like them more fresh. But on the days where I knew I wasn't going to be home until later at night, I would always make another meal along with my breakfast and then pack that up and, throw it in my backpack and get on with my day. And
Right.
I just don't think if you really are committed to it, and like I said, if it becomes a pillar of your life, then you're gonna make time for it. And if that means you got to go to the gym before work, then you got to get up a little bit early. But you're gonna know you're gonna be sleeping better
100%.
because you're getting up earlier. And you can be that guy at the office that brings his ground beef and cheese and whatever that you throw into that bowl into the office each day instead of going to eat with um your peers at the office or something like that. Like,
I love it, bro.
yeah. So
I think it's ignorant. Like it's ignorant to say there's not some sort of time allocation to fitness and eating healthy, right?
yeah, 100%.
Because it
Yeah.
takes time. But I think, if you want it bad enough, you're gonna get it. It's 2025. We have to stop pretending like, you know, you don't have time to do things. There's plenty of time in the
Hmm.
day. And if this is actually stuff that, is preventing people from working out and eating healthy, eating high protein, eating lean, it's just a cope for something that is still stuck. And that's perfectly normal. I think a lot of people are worried about the progress they'll make, but I mean, anything else, in my opinion, is just not true. Because you
Yeah,
wanted
and
it
a
bad
lot of
enough, you
people
made the
that
time
would
for it.
Yeah, and a lot of people that would speak against it have never tried it
Right.
to in a long enough, like you need volume. You need to see this over a long period of time, and you need to have a lot of meals and you need to have a lot of good inputs before you can see results, and that's part of it. And I think a lot of people might
100%.
get discouraged after a month, and that in a way that might have been me before. I would always kind of drag it out maybe a little bit longer, but yeah, maybe after 3, 4 months, I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be
Right.
and I would just kind of quit out. But then if I were to look back on all those times, I would see that my inputs were not anywhere close to what they were over these last 12 weeks. And then I realized,
Which
wow, this is
is
actually
so
easier.
funny. It is. It is. It's so
Yeah.
funny because our goal when we started was our goals are different now, but our goals when we started was get leaner. Let's get leaner.
Yeah.
And it was like literally 1 week. I said, Josh, we're gonna eat this much food. We're gonna lift like this. And it was like within that first week, it was like, okay, 2 pounds down. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, all right. It really
Yeah.
doesn't, as long as you put your attention to it and you take effort in that direction, you're going to see progress. And then you
Yeah.
just get better. Like you're better
Yeah.
at tracking and lifting now than you were 12 weeks ago. That's just how it goes.
Exactly. Yep.
And
Yeah.
so,
I mean, at the start of this, I really didn't have a lot on my plate this semester. I knew that I was going to be, because I'm also in a fraternity, and in that last year, I was the vice president of it, and so that took a lot of time commitment, and while I was at school. But now this semester, I didn't have that factor, and I'm like, okay, so let's figure out how we can really dial in this stuff, and then add back components of my life into my
right,
routine.
right.
So again, like, we just really clocked it in with health and fitness, and then that now I'm slowly adding things back into my schedule that I had kind of neglected, and just still building my life around the fact that, I need to hit the gym in a day and I need to eat well. So
I love that, dude. Yeah. I guess biggest thing, if anyone's on the fence about joining this program, I used to say if anyone's on the fence about like taking action in their fitness, whether it's with me or with someone else, but I don't believe in that anymore because I know we get the best results. If anyone's on the fence about joining this program, what would you tell them right now?
I would say, and I mean, I haven't even told you this, but I've had two coaches before, not nearly anything like this. But my first one was when I first started lifting. It was a trainer at my commercial gym that charged me $800 a month for
Let's go.
two workouts a week. So it was pretty much $100 a workout, no meal plan, not like hardly any check-in,
Right.
anything like that. And that was terrible. There was no accountability. I didn't need to worry about anything. He didn't have me on any sort of meal plan. He rarely checked in. So that was very short-lived. Probably I spent maybe 2 months with him.
Right.
And then um about a year and a half ago, I had worked with my friend's dad, who was a trainer, and he was like $150 a month, and he gave me a workout plan, and he gave me a crazy meal plan that had nothing to do with my goals. He's like a legitimate professional bodybuilder. He's a
Hmm.
natural pro, and I know obviously, he'd probably get me right in the end, but what he did is when I told him like, hey, like this is pretty unfeasible for me, at least to start here. Like he gave me a meal plan. I had like to consume like 320 grams of protein every day with like 3,500 calories, like six different meals, and it was all so like it was just bacon or chicken, rice, broccoli, like
Hot sauce.
eggs. Oh my God, it was terrible. I did it for a week, and I was like, but when I tried to tell him, hey, this isn't feasible, how can we try to at least ease into this? He just basically told me, like, be a man, like, get better, just get after it. Which, sure, maybe that's what you need to hear sometimes. But what worked with this program is I said, hey, here are some things that I'm struggling with. How can we adapt? And we did, and we still saw the same results.
Same
So
results or better?
better. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
I'm saying same results for what we probably would have gotten if like in our 12 weeks of our program. Like
Oh, right.
me
Okay.
and you changed some inputs, but in the end result for our 12 weeks, it probably didn't change anything because we were still on top of it, and it didn't create blocks in my head because when I was with this guy, I'm like, okay, well, he just put a block. Like I don't want to do this now because now I can't even do it the way I would like to do it.
Right.
So
We just
now I
have to
don't
be a
even want to
man,
do it at
bro.
all.
You just got to choke
Yeah,
down
yeah,
the eight
yeah,
pounds of chicken in a
yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly. But that's 320 grams of protein later. But with
We're doing that
this, like I
next,
said,
bro.
like,
We're gonna find out about that
I came
300.
to you and I was like, hey, these couple things are a little bit tougher, or I don't feel like they're working as well. What can we change? And maybe sometimes you said, well, like stick to it. We'll see how it goes next week. But other times, you had said, all right, then let's switch this up. Let's not try and injure ourselves with our back. Let's eat a little bit more today if you need to do these things, blah, blah, blah. So having that clarity and also understanding that it's okay to not be 100% perfect all the time. And that's big, but it's when we're not 100% perfect, what can we do to improve in the future?
Right.
And that's something that this program did way better than anything I've seen before.
Let's
Um,
go. I love that.
and yeah, just being more personable as well. I mean, you guys really do a good job of just being in touch with your clients, understanding where they're at in all facets of life, not just health and wellness. Like, you knew when I was stressed because of school and how that was going to play into my eating and lifting and whatnot. So you guys care more than just, bringing in guys and trying to retain them so you can put money in your pockets. You actually care to see results and
Right.
keeping, your clients happy because that's what they're here for. So
Let's go, bro. I love that. For clarity, you said just with the eating, I want to make it clear. You said I gave you more food. We stuck to the meal plan. Just some
yeah,
days when
yeah,
we're depleted, it's like, hey, how many days have we been dieting? Okay, let's get a cheat meal in. Not just like,
yeah,
okay, have that Twinkie, Josh. You're
yeah,
good.
yeah.
We're not
No,
some we're
no, no.
not
Yeah,
some
not like
liberals out
that. Not
here.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
No, but dude, I love that. What's next for you? What are your next goals? I mean, I know we've talked about them. But yeah, just anything else you before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, just gonna be done with school in 23 days here, and then we're in full workflow. So it's been,
Let's go.
how can we get back to that level? Starting to kind of reverse out of the diet a little bit, adding in back in some calories, some carbs more specifically. Seeing what that does, and kind of playing some things by ear. Nothing really set in stone on where we want to be, weight wise or anything like
Right.
that. But
We
we're
know we
just
want more
gonna
muscle.
yeah, we know we want more muscle and we're just going to move forward with that. And we're going to continue to build my life around, fitness and not the other way around where we just add it in when we can. So,
Let's go, Josh. I love it, bro. All right, dude. Well, let's keep crushing.
yes, sir.